some of the costs or the detriments to not getting enough sleep. Now, just out of curiosity, Exxon Valdez. Anybody ever hear of that particular boat and the ship and the incident that followed? Do we know why there was that accident? The prevailing wisdom, or what's generally talked about, is that the captain was intoxicated. That's how it was usually first brought out, and that's what the captain forever will be sort of known for. But he essentially went to bed and put it in the control of the person who he put it in control of, and that person was hugely sleep deprived. The decision was made to do something, and it was very clear that was the right thing to do, and there was this automatic pilot button that was pushed, and he didn't remember to unpush it, essentially. And then as the ship was not doing what it was supposed to do, he couldn't think that that might be what it was all about, and by the time he realized it was too late. Same thing with the Challenger disaster. We believe now that the decision makers regarding this O-ring thing were high-level decision makers who were overwhelmed because of lack of sleep. So we know in our culture that this thing called sleep is really important. They find that pilots who don't sleep for a night, anybody here go all night? Have you pulled an all-nighter yet, anybody? Okay, we have one all-nighter. Anybody come close to pulling an all-nighter? Okay, that happens from time to time. That when pilots are deprived of one night's sleep, their performance on cognitive and performance tasks drops 30%. When they're deprived of 2 nights sleep, it drops 60%. 60%. Now here's what's interesting. For people who are deprived of 1 hour of sleep a night, from whatever it is that they typically get that works for them, if they're deprived of an hour over the course of a week, research has shown that that leaves them functioning cognitively as if they've missed a day's sleep. So they're actually performing like somebody who didn't sleep the night before. There's a NASA study that found that where people were deprived of 5 nights with 6 hours of sleep, so the one we just talked about was 7 hours of sleep, 5 nights of 6 hours of sleep, they were functioning as if they had not had 2 days of sleep, which was the 30% and then the 60% decline. So there's this thing called the sleep deficit, the sleep debt. It's like if you don't get the sleep that your body's needing, it's not like you sort of slowly come out of it. It's literally like it's held as a debt that you need to pay back for your body to recover. They also did a study that showed that students who did very well, who had 7 hours of sleep, so it dropped to 7 for a week. And then they had a weekend where they got a little extra sleep, ended up, compared to those students who stayed with the right amount of sleep for them, in the bottom 9th percentile in terms of their cognitive functioning. So it's really important, and this is the mindfulness idea, to be aware of the fact that when we don't get enough sleep, there is this real consequence. It's a consequence that doesn't disappear the next day just because you might sleep longer. That may not do it. And here's the most perhaps startling fact to me. When people have not gotten enough sleep, and especially in these experimental studies, they say that they're not affected in terms of their performance. They go in to take a test that's going to be used to assess the consequences of the sleep deprivation, and they say, oh, I'm going to be fine. And they go in and they take the test, and they say, I did fine. And their performance plummets, and they're not aware of it. So take good care of yourself, right? Take note of what it is that we're going to talk about here and your own instincts for when it is that it's time to get to sleep. Because of the fact that you may not be, not unlike the intoxicated driver, sure that you can drive when you may not be able to.